Something you mentioned on thought leadership is interesting because we're starting to dip our toes into thought leadership as a service, and we've been trying to define how that differs from other forms of content. We're really struggling with the delineation because I think a lot of people look at content marketing as, hey, this is driven by search, this is SEO content, or this is product content, stuff that would help maybe sales enablement. And then there's this messy bucket of thought leadership that I think could include so many different things. And it sounds like you've got more of a clear definition there. In my mind, I think thought leadership could be stuff like contrarian opinions. You know, if you've got a strong position on the market and your founder like writes an essay on that. It could be original research, right? Because that's something that is leading new paradigms on your industry. And it could be just educational stuff, right? Like here's how you actually do account-based marketing. So do you have like what's your framework as far as how you think about what thought leadership is or should be?
Yeah. So my opinion on thought leadership is contrarian. So it's a little bit meta, but basically the way I've defined thought leadership, and I'm going back all the way to SAP, where I actually wrote an article on Forbes. What is thought leadership and how should you use it? And in the comments, my own boss disagreed with me.
Oh, wow.
And funny enough, when employees leave SAP, they anonymize the articles that former employees have written on platforms paid for by SAP. So I ended up republishing that article on my website, and I now outrank the Forbes article because it's authored by no one. But the definition is, in my the way I kind of describe it is, if you have a really strong opinion, that's great, but it's kind of like a tree that falls in the woods. It doesn't make a sound if no one's around to hear it. So in order to truly be or create thought leadership, you have to show up like on a regular basis. And showing up on a regular basis means answering all, the way I describe it is kind of answering all the questions on the minds of a buyer. So I actually include listicles and basic definitional posts, and certainly opinion and research, I think are included. But in a way, I almost equate thought leadership with content marketing, and that it's answer, like Marcus Sheridan says, they ask, you answer. It's really identifying and knowing all the questions that an audience is asking and being the one to provide the answer, being the authoritative source. Because, it's kind of like you have to build a relationship in order to then earn the right to share an opinion. And so that's why I try to shy clients away from, thinking thought leadership is just those strong opinions, which are important and an important part of, I think, a good content strategy. But the best example I can give is I rank on the first page for what is marketing. Now, no one that's ever going to buy content marketing services is asking that question of Google. But because I rank for what is marketing, I rank for what is content marketing, number 11, I think. Because I rank for what is content marketing, I rank for why you should outsource your content marketing strategy, or why SaaS firms should use an agency for content. So there's like some foundational elements and some basic pieces of content that I had to write in order to build the stepping stone in order to get to that position of quote unquote thought leadership. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different than I think most people would think, but it's basically about, you have to build the platform in order to be able to share, true thought leadership.
I love that, because we often think about, or I guess in the industry, there's the delineation between the channels that you use to share it. But really, like, what you're doing is creating the piece of content with the thought leadership involved. And then like the distribution, I guess, like, it doesn't really change the fact that you're producing thought leadership. Just because somebody finds it in SEO versus on social doesn't necessarily change the fact that you can still add your expert opinion or your views or your educational approach. It shouldn't change it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think one of the myths that a lot of people have about content marketing is that it shouldn't be basic. We only lose, we have a really good retention rate. About 90% of our clients just stick with us. The ones that we lose think that we're too basic, and that we're not, reaching the edge of opinion and pushing the envelope and, speaking to only the most experts in the room. We lose those people because I think they're overthinking it. They think that the best way to break through is to, only do those super expert, super opinionated piece of content. Well, guess what? You're talking to one person, and that one person is probably yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you firsthand experience with that because I think there's a time and a place. It depends on like what your company is. But when I was at CXL, which produces like advanced courses for data-driven marketers, we really did speak to that fringe, very advanced audience, and people would actually notice when we would do basic posts, but like we were selling courses in education. But I can tell you firsthand that the audience for that material is much lower than say HubSpot, who writes the what is marketing and what is content marketing type posts. And their ceiling is so much more expansive than that like niche audience.
Yeah. No, I agree. We have a client in the financial, they have software for financial planners. And like, we can't write what is financial planning kind of content because financial planners know what they do. So we are at a sort of 301 level content for them, but we do write, what are 6 benefits of financial planning software? So we do write answers to questions that more expert level audience has, but again, it's about, I think the blind spot most marketers have is one of the best examples I have is your audience might know the basic things like what is financial planning. But maybe a financial planner works at a company with a CFO who doesn't really understand what the financial planners do. And the CFO is going to approve the software purchase. You know what I mean? So there's always an influencer or in fact, Gartner actually did this research that showed that the biggest gaps in content is what they call validation and consensus content, which is the most basic stuff. It's the what is and why do you need it stuff, because the target audience needs to go convince people that are not them why they should purchase, a piece of software. So, it's interesting when you look at the whole buyer journey to see, how that kind of content, I think, really plays a role.
I think there's the phrase I think is the curse of knowledge too. Like when you spend all day, every day thinking about a subject, you end up at this place that's so far beyond what most people are thinking about that you think these banal, basic things are totally, beginner level stuff. But actually most of the market thinks that's still profound. I find that when I'm tweeting sometimes, I'm like, this is the most basic tweet ever. And it gets the most engagement when, I'll put time and effort and pour sweat and tears into a tweet and it's really advanced and two people like it or something like that. I'm like, oh, okay, this is, this is learning.